Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our episode on understanding EVs and EV technology. As part of the Hindustan Times Environment in Conclave, we are very excited to have Mr. Anand Kulkarni with us for this session. Mr. Kulkarni is a product line director, electric vehicles and alpha architecture, PVBU at Tata Motors. And with his years of experience working in one of the most premium brands in the industry, he can help us understand the nitty gritties of electric vehicles, especially with respect to the Indian market. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. Thank you for
Hi, good
joining us
afternoon.
today.
Thank you, Meghna. Very good afternoon to you and to all our participants today.
Thank you. I would like to jump right into the discussion with my first question for you, which is, electric vehicles are said to be the game changers in the future of mobility. What are your
True.
thoughts on this statement?
So let's look at it this way. Electric vehicles are currently in a very nascent state within our country. However, there's a lot of potential. And if you look at the fact that 80% of urban pollution today is because of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and the passenger cars that operate on our roads, the electric vehicles have one of the most biggest advantages in terms of being able to nullify these emissions or these pollution-related factors to a very high extent. The second thing is you look at the trade deficit or the energy security, and because of our oil reserves or our oil supplies coming from geopolitically sensitive areas, and electrification has an opportunity to sort of nullify that as well. Now, many people say that electrification of cars, electrification of vehicles could be expensive, but because of falling battery prices over the last decade or so, already the total cost of ownership on passenger cars is falling down to levels where it can start to compete with the liquid fueled two wheelers, three wheelers, and four wheelers. And therefore, that is a significant step. And lastly, I would say that the advantages of an electric drive are that it is quiet, it is refined, and it also offers significant benefits over warranty because there are lesser moving parts. So, all put together, these factors put together are essentially something which is extremely advantageous for urban mobility, and therefore, an electrification drive in our opinion, is a game changer, and this is something that is going to be here to stay.
Thank you. Very, very interesting points. For a buyer who's switching to an electric vehicle for the first time, understanding that technology is very important.
Right.
So, what would you say are some of the major points that they need to be aware of in terms of the motor and the battery?
Right. So let's start with the motor as you suggested.
Yeah.
Now the motor on the electric vehicle is an electric motor. It runs on three phase, and therefore let's understand how this motor really functions. In an IC engine, for example, you will have the torque and the power on the vehicle as a function of the rotational speed of the engine, and
Hmm.
therefore you have the torque rise or the power rise happening gradually as you move up the RPM. However, in case of electric motor, the entire torque is available right from word go. So even at standstill, literally standstill or 1 RPM, the motor can really give you the complete torque. What this means is you can have a extremely instantaneous response to any of your expectations in terms of drivability. Secondly, the motor is absolutely smooth and quiet and refined. As a result, the feel that a driver has during driving is one of noiseless, refined acceleration, which can be a completely different experience for somebody who is used to
Hmm.
driving a IC engine.
Yeah.
And on top of it, the motors have, as we know, very few moving parts. So the amount of maintenance or the amount of regular updates that you need to do in terms of either a oil change or a filter change or setting of some of the key parameters does not need to be done as often as one would need to do on an IC engine. Therefore, from a user perspective, all of this becomes extremely helpful, extremely convenient. So that's so far as the motor is concerned. Now, when we look at the battery, and let me just tell our audience today that the battery capacity is measured in kilowatt hours.
Hmm.
Now, what does a kilowatt hour mean? So, in simple layman terms, 1 kilowatt of energy is equal to what we talk traditionally as 1 unit of electricity, which we use at home. But a kilowatt hour, in terms of the capacity, is to an electric battery what fuel in liters would be to an IC engine vehicle. So you have a capacity measured in kilowatt hours as against what we measure on IC engine vehicles in terms of liters. Now, this kilowatt hour of energy essentially determines the range of the battery. And today we have a very high energy density lithium ion batteries being used on electric vehicles. What they do is within a very small space on the vehicle, they are able to package enough energy for cars to go as high as 250, 260 kilometers. In fact, the Nexon, which is one of our premium offerings today, has a 30 kilowatt hour battery, and on the 30 kilowatt hour battery, we can enable our customers to achieve between 210 and 230 kilometers in real life, which is
Hmm.
more than sufficient for about half a week or a little bit more of driving for normal people like us.
Hmm.
These batteries are protected against the weather, against the outside, by something called as IP rating. Now, IP rating stands for ingress protection. The IP is for ingress protection,
Hmm.
and you could have various standards. For example, it could be an IP65 or it could be an IP67. The IP67 is what we typically use on batteries of electric motors, and they are able to protect the batteries against dust or water ingress under most conditions. In fact, even when the car wades through water, the IP protection makes sure that there is absolutely no leakage of moisture or leakage of water inside the battery, and which makes the batteries extremely safe. So this is a broad understanding about what the batteries and what the motors are. And today technology is at such a stage that these units are extremely safe, they are extremely reliable, and they are extremely long lasting as well, which is why today you see in the industry the common standard is to give a 8 year 160,000 kilometers warranty, which is practically unheard of in the ICE engine avatars of the vehicles.
Right, right. I guess that's what makes it a more sustainable choice as well.
Correct, correct.
Okay, considering this is a very like we are at a quite a nascent stage in terms of EVs in India, and which is why probably there are a lot of myths around electric vehicles. So, what are some of those myths that you would like to draw our attention to? You can tell us something about those. Yes.
Indeed, and that's a very valid question, because I think no matter how many times we explain, people still have fears about a lot of things, and I would like to use this opportunity to explain that one more time. So the first thing is that electric cars do not have performance; they are not quick, they're not fast. But I think that's besides the point, because in a lot of cases it really depends on the kind of configuration that you would choose in order to go to market. The Nexon, for example, has a 95 kilowatt hour battery, a 95 kilowatt battery, and this 95 kilowatt battery, I'm sorry, 95 kilowatt motor, and this 95 kilowatt motor allows it to achieve a 0 to 100 kilometers dash in less than 10 seconds, making it the fastest SUV. So performance of the batteries and the performance of the motor is really not a factor that one can associate with electric vehicles. In fact, cars motors are much faster, much quicker, much more thrilling to drive. The second factor is about, the second myth that people tend to have is about how are my batteries going to sustain? Will they last long enough? I would like to say that the lithium ion, the modern day lithium ion batteries, are exceedingly reliable units. While they are chemical entities and they need to be worked in a certain manner, engineers from companies like Tata Motors and other competitors as well work a lot on them to make sure that these batteries are sort of built to operate under various conditions in the most reliable fashion. The life of these batteries would often be exceeding the life of the vehicle as we understand it today, because the number of cycles that you can do on these batteries of charging and discharging is significantly higher. The third fear that people have is about safety, and because the fear is, what if the vehicle goes through water? Because in our minds, there is always this connection between water and electricity. So I would like to sort of clarify that, first of all, the batteries are IP67 rated, as I told you. But moreover, let us say in the event that an incident happens and there is a water leakage inside, then there are a series of safety interconnects which make sure that the high voltage is never ever conducted outside, and therefore they are absolutely safe. The other question that people have is, what happens in a crash? So, for example, vehicles like the Nexon, which are built on an extremely safe platform, are compliant to all the crash worthiness regulations within the country and more. And we also have tested the vehicles additionally in order to make them compliant or safe against rear impacts or side impacts. So, all of this put together, these are the myths that people have about, be it about safety, be it about charging, be it about battery, motor. And I think as people get more and more uh, aware, as people experience electric vehicles more and more, it will just help to allay these fears, allay these myths.
Sure, makes sense. I'm sure like you've answered a lot of the major questions that our viewers might have today. But I would like to take this opportunity to ask everybody who's listening in today to drop in any other questions that you might have for Mr. Kulkarni, and we'll be sure to get back to you at the end of the session. Moving on, my next question for you is. For someone investing in an EV, there's a certain set of do's and don'ts I'm sure that they need to follow in terms of the maintenance, especially. I think you spoke a bit about it in the last question that you answered. But if you would please like to elaborate that for our viewers, that what are the points that they need to keep in mind while maintaining their vehicle?
Sure. So, first of all, we would like to say that do not be worried that electric vehicles would have a lot of maintenance and they would need to sort of visit the service station too often. But electric vehicles, as I said before, do not have filters, oils, or replaceable parts that need to be reviewed, serviced, or updated at regular periods of time. But it's always good to have the vehicle checked once in a while. Having said that, I think what's also happening is, as we uh, as we see in a lot of other countries also, this is an evolving field. So people tend to optimize performances. People tend to improve certain things, and therefore there are software upgrades which are available from time to time. So it's important that in order to achieve the best out of an electric vehicle, people upgrade these software so that the entire vehicle and the systems run for a long enough time. The other things that I would want to emphasize today, given this opportunity, is to say, what should one do if one would want to store the vehicle or park away the vehicle for a long duration of time. So, some of the suggestions or some of the advice would be that you should not park vehicles for too long with a zero state of energy, and you should probably try and maintain about 30 to 50% of energy within the battery if you're going to park it for a long time. Like we do it on our other vehicles, that if we are going to store it for a longish time, then we would remove the battery connections, or the low voltage battery, the 12-volt battery that we have in our vehicle. We would remove the connections so that it does not lead to any leakage currents because of consumption of either some of the ECUs, etc. So we would always want to do that. Some precautions in during the time of driving would be sure that while the car itself is safe enough to wade into water, and we protected our car against 300 millimeters, which is actually about a foot height of water wading depth. Don't get into the water at a very high speed. Allow the vehicle to run at creep speeds, and the vehicle will be able to safely take you across. It is always important that you shouldn't hit the water wading or the water that is standing still at a speed that will definitely help protect against any impact or uh, any damages to some other components also. It's always better that people check the SOC levels on the car before they embark on a journey, because you don't want to be stranded. And while the car can get itself charged through a regular connection of 15 amps also, but sometimes finding the right connection at the right place can become a difficulty, and therefore you should always make sure that the SOC levels are absolutely correct. So these are some of the operational things that I would want to explain. There are some do's and don'ts that you would also need to take care during charging. What we do is Tata Motors along with Tata Power installs a slow charging plug or a slow charging point at the customer's end. And but sometimes people would like to charge their cars outside as well. Just make sure that there is a proper earthing connection available, so that you don't have a trip off on the system, because there are safety protects or safety interlocks provided, which would detect if a earth connection is there or not, and otherwise it couldn't charge the vehicle. Also make sure that you do not damage the plug, or you do not damage the charging gun, because it's a high voltage connection there. And most importantly, if there is something that happens as an error state within your car, we would absolutely advise people not to try a DIY kind of a thing, because there are high voltage connections in the car. Please be careful, and please don't try to do something, because absolutely needs to be handled by a person who is trained for this, and therefore it needs to be attended at a authorized service station.
Sure, sure. So, you talked so much about the technology behind electric vehicles. So I'm sure you have also been able to understand that there's a lot of excitement regarding EVs in the Indian market. Considering you have come up with, from what I'm aware, you've been one of the pioneers behind coming up with the Nexon EV. So how has your journey been, in that process? Like, what kind of reaction that you received during and after this launch?
Initially, when the Nexon EV was launched, we knew that it would be a product that would really redefine some aspects. But in the last 1 year, and by the way, I would like to say that we are celebrating a year of our operations this month.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And in this year, a lot of our customers have been able to experience the car, and their feedbacks have actually driven us to improve further. There have been some, I'll be honest, there have been some feedbacks that we needed to incorporate in our vehicles, and which we have done at a very very fast pace, and hopefully that's given our initial customers a lot needed safety and a lot needed assurance about the product. But today, everybody is by and large happy about it. The expectations from the product were great, and the product meets all these expectations. It is a fantastic. See, the Nexon originally was an aspirational product, so the platform was absolutely there, waiting to have this kind of thing. And then the electrification lent it the required refinement, the thrill, and the drive. And along with the fact that we were able to do all of this with the safety that is expected, I think it's become a wonderful package that our customers really enjoy. And I would just want to say this, that whoever drives the car, it just puts a smile on their faces, and that's what we love to see as people who have been involved in the development. The management support has been fantastic, and that's what helps us and makes us happy at the end of the day.
Sure, and I'm sure that is what you had been aiming for. So,
Sure.
congratulations again. Um, with respect to the EV market in India, as you mentioned, there has been like a lot of positive feedback, and people are quite excited about electric vehicles. So, how do you see this market actually growing? What are your thoughts on the opportunities that are there currently in the EV market?
Meghna, let's look at it this way. Last year, when we entered the market, there were a couple of cars which were at a significant price premium. We were able to enter the car market with a significantly accessible price point. What it has done is it has encouraged people to adopt electric vehicles in a relatively easier fashion, and uh, the journey of the last few months has been phenomenal because, as I said, we are celebrating our first year anniversary, and very shortly we should be getting to roughly around 3,000 cars. That milestone is not too far away from us. So it's been a huge ramp up, and there's been a fantastic journey. Going forward, what we see is more and more people are wanting to adopt greener options.
Hmm.
There are any number of our customers who today want to, go completely carbon neutral. And when I mean this, we have a lot of customers who've installed solar panels on their rooftops, and they happily give us these stories about saying that the solar rooftops charge, their batteries, and these batteries are then used to charge the vehicles, and therefore they are on a completely zero electricity charge on their vehicles. So this entire drive about people wanting safer, cleaner options is picking up significantly more than what we had anticipated last year. And therefore, I think going forward, this particular segment of electric vehicles is going to grow at a much faster clip. Also, with more options that will become available over a period of time, the choices to customers will be that much more, and it will enable people to select a particular vehicle of a use case that they want to deploy it to. And all of this is going to augur extremely well for this segment. And we are bracing for good demand or good growth in this segment.
Sure. So we have a lot of audience questions coming in, and very interestingly, the first one that we have got is actually about what you mentioned. We have a question from David Annadurai saying that is there a plan to incorporate solar panels on the roof of the vehicle to generate electricity? So I think this is what you were talking about. So is this something that you have been doing?
So this is a very interesting question. Thank you, Darwin, for the question. So yes, it is possible to implement solar panels on the roof of the vehicle, but you've got to look at a couple of things when we do that. Today, the best solar panels that you have can do an energy efficiency of between 20 and 22%. And solar panels which are able to do that have also got to be flexible because they need to take the shape of the car. Now, is it possible? Answer is yes, but this is limited by the area that is available on the rooftop of the vehicle, and perhaps if you are lucky, on the bonnet of the vehicle. So, in terms of how much energy can you recover, or how much energy can you gain by doing this, it's probably, I would say, not more than 10 or 15% energy on a bright sunny day. So what it does is it lends itself suitably for applications which are short distances, and you don't drive too much, and you're able to sort of make do with a short drive of 10-15 kilometers either way. But at the moment, the cost of trying to transfer energy from a solar panel into the battery and using that, it is not yet at the point where the total cost of operations would support. Therefore, it is an interesting way to do it, but we would probably have to wait for a little longer for solar panels to become more accessible and maybe have some slightly better efficiency. And as I told you, also you need to have solar panels which are flex panels, flexible panels, to be able to go on the roof. People are doing this, and it is technically possible. Yes.
Okay, moving on. The next question is from Anita Call, who would want to know that how do you source lithium-ion battery which is not available in India?
Thanks, Anita, for that question. I think you are right. We do not have lithium deposits in the country. So lithium deposits, batteries do tend to be imported from countries where lithium deposits are available, and therefore they are able to make those batteries at a large scale. We do that as well. We import our batteries for the time being. And when we say batteries, it is not the entire unit that we import. We import only the cells so that the entire battery can be converted here in India. So, in a way of saying, we make the batteries here, but we import the cells.
Okay, okay, understood. Hope that answers your question, Anita. Moving on to the next audience question that we have. It's from Saurabh Singh, who wants to know what happens to the life of a battery in an EV after 8 years.
Right. So, thank you, Saurabh. One of the most important things that we need to understand here is that the battery is not going to suddenly go down after 8 years. 8 years is, by the way, the warranty that OEs would like to provide. But in many cases, the batteries can run significantly more than that. Now, what is this 8 year? What is this 8 years? It is a point at which the batteries come to a level of utilization which is roughly between 75 and 80% of their initial state or initial state of health. Does it mean that you would not be able to use the batteries beyond that? The answer is no. You would still be able to use it, but you will see some difference in performance and, of course, some difference in range. Compare it with your cell phone. The cell phone batteries, when they go old, or when they have gone through a number of repeated cycles of charge discharge, you will find that you need to charge it more often, but it can still be operational. In the same way, the battery on the EV is not going to go down all of a sudden. It is going to be still usable.
Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni. We have a lot more questions coming in, but in the interest of time, we're going to take one more, which is from Deepthi Parvani, who wants to know what is the difference between an electric car and a plug-in hybrid.
Okay. So Dipti, that's a very perceptive question. So the difference between so we have different levels of electrification on a car, starting with the completely ICE engine car, as we call it, internal combustion engine vehicle, to what is called as battery electric vehicle. So the plug-in hybrid comes somewhere in between, where it has a battery, but it also has an IC engine, and battery is used in order to provide some use cases where it can run on the battery, and in other cases it would use the IC engines, as against a battery electric vehicle which will only run on complete electricity. Now, a plug-in hybrid also means that you need to the battery is of a capacity where you would need to plug in the vehicle into a charging in order to replenish that battery. I hope that supports or that explains the question that you have.
Thank you, sir. You spoke a lot about EVs, how they are obviously a very sustainable choice, especially for people who are looking for more these kind of options which do not make any kind of environmental harm. Uh, what kind of impact do you see them having on the environment long term? Like, if we continue to use electric vehicles, what kind of positive change can we expect going ahead? Do you have any thoughts of that on that?
I want to split this question into two parts. I want to first address the part where electric vehicles are running, and therefore what is the benefit that they cause. And then there will be a lot of questions that people have on what about the recyclability of the battery, and that I would like to explain that a little bit also in the second part of
Okay,
my response.
sure.
So, for example, when you are running a vehicle, when running an electric vehicle, you have what is called as zero tailpipe emissions, meaning there is no tailpipe emission at all. So you do not have carbon dioxide, you do not have hydrocarbon emissions, you do not have the sulfur emissions, SOx or NOx, nitrous emissions, and therefore you have absolutely a clean tailpipe. What it does is, in the course of transit, as I said earlier in the first response itself, that a lot of urban pollution today is on account of tailpipe emissions of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers. So you take that away, you essentially get a much cleaner air, and therefore it improves the level of or reduces the level of pollution immediately within that area. The second part is what would be the recyclability of the batteries? Are they toxic? So the answer to that is indeed because they are chemical entities, they need to be handled properly. But uh, these batteries, these lithium-ion batteries, are recyclable, and you can recover the chemicals within these batteries for reuse again for batteries. It is supposed to be done only by qualified and well trained people. It's not something that you do in a normal scrapyard or things of that sort. There's a lot of intense and sophisticated work that needs to go into recycling of these batteries. But there are today people available who do this so that the batteries can be recycled for later use once again. So all put together, we think that the level of pollution reduction that can happen by adoption of electric vehicles is going to make a significant difference to our ways of life, particularly in congested urban settings.
Sure, sure. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, sir. So there's another very interesting question, which I don't think we should skip. Zoya Qureshi wants to know, can I charge an electric car in the rain?
Zoya, this is a very real life question. The answer is a yes and no. The gun itself into the socket is protected with an IP67. So if you have a pitter patter rain, I don't think it is going to cause any problems. But if you have gusty winds along with rains, you should be careful. You should probably make sure that you insert the gun in a dry manner. It is not wet, so you need to have some sort of a cover, maybe an umbrella or something. But otherwise, this is not going to be a problem. But it obviously, as a good practice, it's always better to insert the charging gun in some kind of protection.
So, sure. So for just like I have a question from my side, which is for somebody who wants to invest in an EV. Like, what kind of resources do you think they should go through to kind of educate themselves? I know that there would be articles online to kind of read up and all, but do you provide any kind of sessions from your end so that people understand these kind of technicalities, especially for people like us who do not know anything about this segment at all?
Sure, sure. So, Meghna, when you visit our showrooms, our product specialists would be able to and very happy to guide you through most of your questions. But in case there are certain questions that you need a deeper understanding on, obviously Tata Motors technical team would be also able to help out, and there's absolutely no problem. In fact, we do regular connects with our customers to help them understand this and help all the people during these early stages of adoption. We understand that there will be a lot of questions, there will be a lot of fears and myths around this. And as pioneers in this area, at least in India, we want to sort of give as much information as we can to make sure that people feel safe, people feel secure, and confident about the choices that they make. So by all means, utilize these resources to make sure that you have everything that you need.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. That brings us to the end of our discussion. I would really like to thank Mr. Kulkarni again for joining us today. It was such an insightful session, so many points to remember, and so much food for thought. So, really grateful that you could take out time to join us today. A huge shout out to Tata Nexon EV also for partnering with us for this session. We are going to be back soon with the next session of the Environment Conclave. So do stay tuned to the Hindustan Times FB page for more details. This is us signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meghna.